Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Howdy Partner Show. I'm Kruthi, a Partner Solutions Architect at AWS, and I'll be your host for today. I'm based out of the Bay Area in California. Feel free to let us know where all of you are tuning in from. And with me today, I have Nneoma. Nneoma, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Kruthi. My name is Nneoma Okoroafor. I am a partner solutions architect as well with AWS, and I am joining today from Seattle. It is sunny and really beautiful here in Seattle today.
Awesome. Thanks, Nneoma. So, Nneoma, what is the Howdy Partner Show?
The Howdy Partner Show is actually a live streaming event where we get to talk to partners weekly and where we highlight AWS like partners from the AWS partner network, partners who have built something innovative and solutions that are validated by AWS architects. And today we have a really special partner with us. Kruti, do you want to introduce them?
Yeah, let me quickly bring Datasaur. They are a partner for today. And I'm just going to give a really quick introduction. I have Ivan here on the call, who is the CEO at Datasaur. And I also have Bruce on the call, who's the Director of Customer Success. Ivan and Bruce, do you want to introduce yourself and let us know a little about what Datasaur is and what you're going to show us today?
Absolutely. Thank you for the introduction, Kruthi. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ivan. I'm the CEO and founder here at Datasaur. We are an NLP software platform. So we've been doing this for 5.5 years. Prior to that, I've been building AI solutions at various companies for the past 14 years. So NLP is at our core. One of our angel investors was Greg Brockman, the president of OpenAI. So we've also been really excited to see the introduction of LLMs and all the hype around that. And so now our offerings span everything from, NER, text labeling, through to sentiment analysis, through to fine tuning and customizing LLMs. Excited to be here today. Bruce?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jonathan Bruce, Director of Customer Success here. I've been at Datasaur for a few years now, and my task at hand is to understand our customers' requirements and make sure that they are successfully adapted and they are able to execute it themselves within the Datasaur platform. And as Ivan said, Datasaur at its core is all things language, NLP and LLM. And we do our best to design this platform for any type of user to be able to access those NLP and LLM projects, including non-technical users, lawyers, doctors, students. We try to make labeling and creating your AI models easy and accessible to any type of user. Happy to be in this conversation today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, both Ivan and Bruce. So, just to start off the conversation, so how did Datasaur first come into play? What's the background behind the company, and how did you get into the data labeling process?
Yeah. So prior to this, I was over working at Apple in the Siri search organization, and I spent a lot of Apple's money gathering a lot of training data. And it was, an important process. I've been working in NLP for 10 years, 15 years now. I know exactly how powerful this technology is, but AI is only as good as the training data that's fed in. And across many of the organizations I've worked at, we were often labeling this data on basic Excel spreadsheets, and it was painstakingly, numbingly painful. So wanted to build something not just for one organization at a time, but for the broader industry. And we started with a vision of just making, the process of building an NLP model that much simpler and easier.
That's great. Yeah, and I know today you have a couple of solutions that you want to show to our audience here. So, can you explain a little of what you'll be showing us today and what we can expect throughout the show?
Yeah, absolutely. So we will start with our LLM Labs product. I think this is top of mind for a lot of folks. LLMs obviously have a lot of hype behind them. Every data science organization is being asked to evaluate what their generative AI LLM strategy is, and it's an incredibly fast-moving technology. I haven't seen anything quite like this. Things that would normally stay at the forefront of our minds for months are quickly being eclipsed every couple of weeks. There is always a new announcement. Just this week, we saw both OpenAI and Google reveal their next generation technologies. So this product is equipped to do multiple things, but first and foremost, we want to highlight that this is the best place to evaluate multiple models, state-of-the-art models out there. So whether you want to be testing the latest GPT-4o versus Llama 3 versus a Gemini model, this is the place where you can set all of that up and immediately identify and experiment to see which model is best suited for your use case. Bruce, maybe you can show us how it's done.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so here we have LLM labs. This is what we call this workspace, and we can go through over 120 models to compare and contrast these models against one another. We truly want to be agnostic and allow you to fully explore this huge trend line of LLMs. So we can explore different models and then compare. And what I mean by compare is we can then go into what we call playgrounds. And in playgrounds, we can choose different models. So let's say I wanted to compare GPT-4 versus GPT 3.5. So here I would just go right here and choose my model, and then the temperature, top P, maximum length, and similarity score, i.e. the hyperparameters. And I can adjust the instructions, the user settings, and then I can choose which knowledge base I want to apply to this model. And so we have vector stores that you can upload your knowledge into to contextualize that LLM model. Now, if I want to go ahead and compare those models, I can just go ahead and add a prompt. So I've linked these two LLM models to Datasaur's documentation, and let's just kind of want to see how it answers a pretty basic question about how to create a span-based project. And I'll go ahead and run that prompt, and it's going to run that prompt against both of these models simultaneously. And here I got how many seconds it took to produce, the inference time, and also the estimated cost for that completion. I'll go ahead and look at the answers here. Okay, so I think 38 is definitely doing a better job, but I should probably give it more specific instructions so that way I can get a little more ample of an answer. But let's say I did like prompt 38 and its answers, its response time. What I can go ahead and do is I can go to deployment, and I can go ahead and deploy prompt 38. And now I have an API endpoint where I can call this, this model, this adjusted LLM directly to your application. So you can explore, choose, and compare over 120 LLMs, give those LLMs context and knowledge base, customize it further with hyperparameters, and then call it directly from Datasaur directly to you and your application. So kind of an end-to-end exploration and contextualizing LLMs to your business needs.
And just to add to that, you'll see that many of these models are actually hosted via AWS SageMaker, right? So if you want to build and deploy one of these models to your AWS instances, you can just put in your API token here and use this to very quickly deploy any of these LLM models, any of these foundation models directly to your servers.
Yeah, I was going to ask a question regarding where AWS comes into, like where your your workload sits and how it integrates into AWS. And now that you mentioned that, I wanted to talk a little bit about the data. You said the user can bring in their data. So does it mean they have to upload it, or they can connect, their data, whether it's in anywhere, maybe S3 bucket or it's in Salesforce or anywhere they have their data situated. Is that possible?
Yeah, certainly. So if you don't mind, I'm going to share screen this time around and just share that what you can do in order to set up your data is that you can connect it to a knowledge base. So you can upload files directly from your own computer, but if you do have an S3 bucket, you can connect that here as well. So suddenly you have your, all these models are trained on internet scale data, which is very powerful. But there's a lot more valuable data that are behind closed walls that are proprietary to our organizations. So if you want to connect that as part of your knowledge base, you're able to do so through a drag and drop interface or just, hook up that S3 bucket. On top of that, we do support both Amazon Bedrock as well as SageMaker. So there are different pros and cons to these. SageMaker allows you to customize and set up your own servers, run this more cost efficiently, whereas Bedrock comes with that convenience and the ability to have these models already deployed 24/7 and immediately start using and testing these out. So we have deep integrations with the Amazon suite of models and the hundreds of models that they already support. And this streamlines that integration and process as much as possible.
And where is this data stored? So will it be stored anytime in your AWS account, or is there a guarantee that all of this is secured within the customer's account?
So all of this, there are multiple options here. For convenience and ease of use, you can register for Datasaur's LLM Labs and just immediately start using this. And everything will be hosted through Datasaur servers and Datasaur's API keys. However, if you have determined that this is the right solution for your organization, then we can work with you to set this up on your servers, use your tokens and your API keys to make sure that all of this data will be uploaded and sent through only your company's secure premises.
Okay, so that's good to know. So there is like a secure mechanism for customers or partners to use your solution.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll also add on top of that we are SOC 2 and HIPAA compliant. We work with companies in the healthcare space, financial space, government spaces as well. So one of the advantages of working with Datasaur is that all of that security is always going to be taken care of for you.
Awesome. And I know you do have a free credit option. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So we did partner with AWS and promised that for those watching the webinar today, if you sign up between now and May 19th, I see the banner scrolling down here. So if you sign up by this Sunday, you will be able to register and redeem your $100 in free credits for either our LLM Lab solutions or the NLP labeling platform, which we'll be covering later in this call.
Awesome. So what are like some of the challenges that your customers face where they probably want to use LLM Labs as a solution for that?
Yeah. So let's take a step back and just level set on where we are with this technology, right? LLMs were really kind of hit prime time about a year and a half ago. And since then, we've seen a lot of AI and data science organizations being asked to pause all their prior work and explore LLMs and see how this fits into their long-term AI strategies. So 2023 was the year of proofs of concept, a lot of experimental solutions. Can this technology actually solve our problems in the marketing department, in the customer support department, for business analysis, right? Can we actually use this technology? Now, a lot of those proofs of concepts are graduating towards production models. And so what we find when we talk to a lot of our customers today is that they have this exploration. They know that technology can work, but they face a lot of scaling and production level questions. So for example, if you're paying, half a cent per query for a proof of concept, that's totally fine. And if you're going to have thousands of queries a month, that's still reasonable in terms of cost. But if you're going to scale this up to 10 million API calls per month, suddenly half a cent starts adding up. right? And so we see people start with the basics, like what's our budget for this? Are we comfortable putting this out to production and using this? Let's say it's an e-commerce company and they want to use an LLM for sentiment analysis, and they have 10 million reviews being deployed every single month. Is that acceptable, right? So these are the types of questions that they're facing. There are more complex ones as well. Maybe your proof of concept was integrated with a knowledge base that was 5,000 files and it works well at 5,000. What happens when you scale this to 5 million files? Then what changes? Do you have to swap out the vector database that you are using? Does it create a significantly longer amount of inference time, right? So the very first thing that this LLM product does is that it helps you evaluate trade-offs between quality, inference time, and cost. And I think that's a question at the forefront of everyone's mind. Maybe you have a proprietary model like Claude 3 that gives you 10% better answers than Llama 3, but it takes 3 times as long and it costs twice as much. Is that trade-off worth it? For some organizations, if you're in the healthcare space, you will ask it to take as long as it needs, spend as much as you need to get the correct answer. But if you're in customer support and it takes 3 seconds versus 10 seconds, maybe that's a trade-off you're willing to accept to have lower quality but a faster response rate.
Yeah, I think
yeah, I wanted to ask how AWS services, like how are you using AWS services to actually help, customers evaluate these trade-offs?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is where the SageMaker and Bedrock APIs have come in very handy, right? So even in that example that I was presenting just now, I'll go back to that. So in this example, you can see we're evaluating GPT-4 with Llama 3 via Amazon Bedrock and Mistral 7B via Amazon SageMaker, right? So Datasaur will help you see, okay, these are both reasonable responses. This one probably requires further fine-tuning or prompt engineering to get a better answer here, right? But you can also see the inference times, 5 seconds, 1.3 seconds, 27 seconds, the cost. So the APIs that we've integrated with on Amazon help us identify not only the inference time itself, but also the estimated cost. So you can start anecdotally understanding, okay, I think these are both reasonable options for this workflow. Let me dig in further and do additional evaluation on GPT-4 and Llama 3 via AWS.
This is great. That I actually love like how transparent this is when it comes to cost as well as time it takes and the results as well. Kruthi, do you have any questions? I want to like give you to take over.
I just have one question. So right now I see costs for every individual model for the prompt that we given. So let's say if a company wants to predict how much the cost would be for, I don't know, like n number of queries, then is that feature something that will be available, or how do companies start going about choosing a model for that particular use case?
That's a great idea. So I think the key starting point here is just the cost per inference, and then we scale it out from there, right? But the important part here is understanding, okay, based on the knowledge base that you've integrated, based on the settings that you've chosen, based on some of the server parameters, this will be a baseline indicator, right? By the way, I'll call out, we have some partners on the AWS infra side. So if somebody's really looking to scale this out to 10 million, we can probably bring the costs well below the estimated cost here if we do additional work. But this is at least a baseline kind of estimate. I love the feature idea. We've tossed around the concept of allowing me to say like, how many queries will you have per week, per month, and then helping just place a number that you can put down there. But the key thing is we understand based on the number of tokens you have, based on the knowledge base, based on everything else, what is the unit cost per query? And then you can do your multiplication from there.
Okay. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
So we are still on cost, I wanted to take back the conversation to the beginning when you talked about how much money you spent when it comes to data gathering. And I know a lot of people also had the same problem when it comes to data gathering, data science work. Um, do you have some stories, like success stories from your customers who have used your solution, how much they're able to save, how much time they're able to save, and what has been like their metrics like?
Yeah. If you don't mind, I'm going to borrow a slide from a presentation that I recently gave, and this should provide some insight. Now, keep in mind, costs are constantly changing. So this is a rough approximation, but this is a real estimate that we provided based on a real customer, right? So given certain assumptions, we understand this is straight from the GPT-4 OpenAI website for GPT-4. 3 cents per 1,000 input prompt tokens, 6 cents per 1,000 output prompt tokens. This is pretty standard industry pricing. Assuming 100,000 pages a day, and that one page a day is approximately equal to 667 tokens. I think our customer was actually quite surprised to see how quickly this adds up, right? This is now costing $2.1 million a year. Whereas Llama 2 on AWS, if you look at the exact same assumptions, it's actually going to cost you as little as $24,000 a year. Now, keep in mind, these slides are about a month old, so we have to accommodate for Llama 3, which has since been introduced, along with GPT-4o, which was just announced this week. So, these will constantly be shifting, but you can start to understand that I had to double check and triple check these numbers, but this is 2 orders of magnitude cheaper, right? So there will be trade-offs. And maybe, again, you have to look at things like inference time and quality as well. But from a pure savings perspective, it makes a lot of sense to take a closer look at Llama 2 and can we fine tune this to meet our needs?
Yeah, I think that's a really great number that you're showing there. Yeah, I think in terms of customer stories, do you have like anything that you would
Sorry, Kruthi. It was a little hard to hear. I think its connection is stable again. Can you repeat?
Yeah, I was just asking if you had any customer stories that you wanted to share, only if you can share with the audience
Yeah,
on
certainly. So I think the question is,
the
are there any customer stories that we can share, right? Um, we've been talking a lot about cost, and I think that's absolutely a critical part of any business calculation here. I want to take a moment to talk about the quality of the models, because another common problem that our customers face is that we are overwhelmed with information. I spend 20% of my week just reading and catching up on news and all the breakthroughs that have been coming through, right? And I'm only saying this half jokingly. You ask any data scientist, and they will tell you like every model seems to beat GPT-4 under very specific scenarios, right? In very specific circumstances. It may be industry specific, it might be language specific, it might be on inference time or certain metrics. So it can get very confusing to understand what models you should be using. So the other thing that we really cater to in LLM Labs is the ability to more closely evaluate the quality of the responses. The specific case study I want to share here is in our collaboration with Von Wobesser y Sierra, a law firm based out of Mexico. They were very early adopters and innovative thinkers when it came to LLMs. They recognized they wanted to build something internally that could be really useful for their data scientists, for their lawyers, right? So real world use case. But they also realized that one, they don't want to be sending any of their proprietary data to a third party server. And two, they wanted to keep costs low. They didn't want to be spending $2 million a year on these LLM bills. And so we worked with them to fine tune Llama 2 to serve their handful of workflows really well. And specifically, what we do here is, yes, this resulting model is not going to be able to put together a travel plan for Barcelona or summarize the Barbie movie for you. It won't do everything under the sun, but it will outperform GPT-4 when it comes to a specific handful of workflows, right? And so that, I think, is where the industry is headed overall. We're not going to see one model to rule them all. We're going to see every organization build multiple models that are customized and fine-tuned to very specific use cases. And that, I think, is the importance of the open source models. It gives you that flexibility of saying, okay, well, for certain cases, proprietary is not an option. We're going to start with one of these open source models, fine tune it, build it to very specific specifications, and make sure that it works on those specifications.
Okay.
So on that note, I'd like to, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I wanted to ask a question, but it looks like you want to still talk about something else. So I can keep the question in the parking lot for now, and then ask it later.
Well, no, let's take the question now, because the next thing I want to do is turn it over to Bruce, who can show you how, we do evaluations and what we're able to, how our platform specifically is built to help with fine tuning towards these specific use cases.
Okay, I have two questions. The first question will be based on what you said about trade-offs. Would it be correct to say that trade-offs can be made depending on the customer's use case for the LLM?
100%, right?
Okay.
If this is a medical use case and lives are at stake, then you're going to train this very differently from, handling a question about when will my e-commerce package arrive. So yes, trade-offs are going to be, the trade-off parameters will be very different.
Okay. So the second question would be on the fine-tuning. The fine-tuning is not a lot of things, like we don't hear that a lot with LLMs. What people do is, I'm gonna build a chatbot and then have use RAG to connect to my data source and then use the information from my data source as the context. So a lot of people avoid the conversation around fine-tuning LLMs because it's expensive for one. So I wanted to kind of dive deep into how you are able to do that for your customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would address this first by just noting that we don't think of fine-tuning or RAG or prompt engineering as competitive exclusive techniques. In fact, what we see most frequently out there is people will start with prompt engineering because you don't need any technical background to do it, right? You can just say, hey, answer in a brief, concise, professional tone, and that's going to get you vastly better answers just by itself. So prompt engineering is where a lot of folks start. Next, RAG is a key part of the equation, right? It's table stakes. You want it to be able to connect to your own internal database of contracts, of documentation, of your own knowledge base. So RAG is very useful for teaching the model information it would not be able to understand, to know otherwise. But finally, fine-tuning is where you kind of you've done your prompt engineering, you've done your RAG, it's still not getting you exactly the answers that you want. Fine-tuning is how you finesse it the remainder of the way. So we actually see people go in this order, right? Fine-tune, RAG, followed by, prompt engineering, RAG, followed by fine-tuning. And then the step beyond that, which I think is even more advanced, is RLHF, reinforcement learning via human feedback. So Datasaur does support all of these. And again, I think Bruce also wanted to say something, but he can also demonstrate how LLM Labs supports all 4 of these steps. But I do think that these are all stages of a journey that every company will have to get through at some point.
Okay.
I think that's a really great explanation, Ivan. Bruce, you want to show some? Yeah, I see your screen.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so how do we fine-tune that LLM model that we just adjusted using LLM Labs? Is we could take the output of, or some of the completions of these prompts that we created and go ahead and ask our labelers, or I myself, to evaluate those completions. So here in this, I have the prompt, which is what is a credit card and how does it work? And here is the completion that came from the LLM model. And then I can go ahead and rank it between 1 and 5 stars. And I have a little note on myself of what is the definition of each of those ratings. So if I go ahead and give it 5 stars, I won't be prompted to do anything else. But if I give it 4 stars, I'll be prompted to go ahead and fix that completion then. What would make it perfect? And then I can go ahead and edit that completion and then go and save that correction. But if I go back up to 5 stars, then I won't need to decide that. But it would be nice if I can actually kind of look at these sources that this completion was derived from. So I can go to the corresponding chunks and go ahead and look at the information directly for where this completion came from. So I can go to that website, look on the right-hand side, and then look at that completion and compare. And if it's perfect, then it's good to go. And then I can just go ahead and submit my answer and go to the next completion. And I'll start that process all over again, ranking it 1 through 5 stars, and then fixing it, looking at the context and the knowledge from which the completion came from. And then you can export these results out and bring it back to your LLM model to begin that fine-tuning process. We also have a second project type that we call ranking, RLHF, where we can go ahead and look at those prompts and completions again. If there's any corresponding chunks, they would be right here. And we're simply just ranking which completion is best, second best, and third best. And then once I'm satisfied with my results, I can go ahead and submit it. And then I'll just be prompted to the next completion, once again ranking what is the first best, second best, and third best of these 3 completions. More than that, if let's say you had a number of labelers working through these completions, we actually have a QA interface that we call reviewer mode that allows you to look at your labeler's answers. So I can see that one put ACB and one put CAB. And then I can choose, you know what, this one's actually correct. Or if none of them are correct, I can actually choose my own, and that would be considered the ground truth. So you can actually have a QA process of looking at your labeler's answers or your other team members' answers, and then either resolve conflicts, as we do have a conflict here, or just make your own answer up here. And this really puts into place very quality data, right? And as anyone will tell you, you create quality data, you're going to have a quality model at the end of the day. So that is what we do our best to support here at Datasaur.
Oh, I have a quick question there. So, is there a limit on the number of people that can evaluate this? So, how do we add?
We haven't hit our limit yet.
Okay.
So you can add people to your workspace, to your team. This has definitely scaled to support teams of hundreds of people or more. So you can go through, as long as they have an account with Datasaur, you can assign them to these projects. We'll show this later, I'm sure, but we also have an entire workforce management dashboard where you can see analytics, like how much people have finished, how many of their tasks have been finished, what percentage of the way are you towards completing your labeling project so far. We track things like inter-annotator agreement to see who's doing a good job and who most frequently needs more correction. So all of that is built into the platform. Yeah, so Bruce is showing the dashboard here, and you can just get every kind of metric that you need to understand how well your team is performing.
Okay, that's nice. And here we can see where everybody is at in their evaluation process.
So this, I actually want to take a moment to explain, because this is a very important best practice in the world of data labeling. This is called an inter-annotator agreement score. And so it's a table showing how well and how frequently people agree and disagree with their peers. So if we look here, the third person, Rio at Datasaur.ai, has a lot of greens, mostly greens down the board. He's doing a great job. But Michael, in the last column, has quite a few reds and yellows, right? So maybe Michael needs some more training before you assign the next project to him. So this is one of the, common practices. People usually have to calculate this offline. This is built into the Datasaur platform to make it easier to manage and understand the progress of your team.
Nice. Yeah, I think that was really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, did you want to talk anything else about LLM Labs or any other features that you want to highlight in particular?
Yeah, we do have another use case. Sorry, Ivan, I'll cut you off there.
Right.
We do have another use case, though, that we are currently working with the customer. I can't name the customer, but it's a really interesting use case where they're actually using the NLP side of our platform. That's why they chose Datasaur, was for the NLP suite. However, they're now working with us on LLM Labs to adjust and fine tune an LLM model from LLM Labs to automatically label the data on the NLP side of Datasaur. Because you can integrate LLMs into our NLP suite to automate that labeling process. As people know in the AI industry, labeling data is a very manual process and therefore a costly process that requires a lot of time and resources. So being able to automate that using LLMs is a very interesting journey that a lot of our customers have shown a lot of interest in. And what LLM Labs allows you to do, right? You can adjust those hyperparameters, you can give it knowledge and context, and really adjust that LLM to really understand how to label your data. And then go to our NLP side, and let's say you're doing textual classifications or an NER, parts of speech type of data labeling, you can then deploy that LLM to automate your labeling process.
Yeah. Speaking of using LLMs to automate the labeling process, I have started seeing interesting cases where people use LLMs to kind of evaluate the responses from the LLMs. I don't know if you've seen something like that in your own case. Do you like use that to evaluate the response coming from LLM?
Yes. Yeah. So this is part of a broader topic I want to talk about. I think this is a key insight that it's a bit of a future prediction on my part. Using LLMs to do basic things like sentiment analysis or entity recognition, it's good at these things. And we do help you use LLMs to automate some of your labeling. But using an LLM for sentiment analysis is a little bit like using a MacBook Pro as a calculator. Can it do the job 100%, right? But at the same time, that is way overkill. Why not just use a calculator for that, right? So especially since LLMs are not free, as we talked about earlier, the ongoing inference cost is not insignificant. So one of the things that I'm betting on in the future, and Kruthi and I were talking about this a little bit earlier, is that we will see a whole variety of different NLP models being deployed for different use cases. So on the high-end side, there will be LLMs doing things that only LLMs can do, right? Some of the use cases around drug discovery and these very advanced things that we've never been able to see before, I think that's a great use case for LLMs. But there's also this growing trend of SLMs, small language models, right? With fewer parameters that run significantly more efficiently. Why would you want fewer parameters? Well, they run much cheaper, much more quickly, and they can deploy to devices where you don't have the benefit of, really powerful NVIDIA GPUs running behind the scenes. So they can run on devices like your car or your smartphone. So SLMs will become an increasingly important player in this industry. And finally, let's not forget that we're sitting on 25 years of NLP progress that are capable of doing very important things already, right? So for example, if you want to identify email addresses, I probably wouldn't use an LLM for that. Use a traditional NLP model combined with a regular expression to identify emails, right? It's done a perfectly fine job at that, and LLMs probably don't add that much to this technology at this point. It's just going to cost you significantly more. So we will see a high variety of everything from traditional NLP models to SLMs to LLMs. I see a comment here from the Zero Sleep, very interested in SLMs, especially for people working in skilled trades like electricians, plumbers, etc. Absolutely, right? There will be a lot of cases where you don't have internet connectivity, or you don't have the benefit of, purchasing the most powerful NVIDIA chips. So being able to use an SLM for something that is, it's going to be serviceable for a lot of these simpler use cases. And it's going to be that much more cost efficient as well. So I see, that's the bigger picture. And I think that both LLM Labs and our NLP platform will be, they're currently kind of pitched as two different products, but the integration is going to be key. Kruthi and I actually did a webinar showing how you can use an LLM to create a training data set and train a much more efficient AWS SageMaker model that runs at less than 10% the cost, right? And actually has higher quality at the end of the day. So I think that people are going to start realizing they may start from LLMs and because of all the hype, but then they start realizing they can build and train much smaller models.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Kruthi. So I wanted to ask more questions around your LLM platform. And one of the top questions I usually get is about hallucinations. How can we reduce hallucinations? So I wanted to ask if there's anything on your platform that is specifically for, or maybe implementing some sort of guardrails or reducing, putting mechanisms to reduce hallucinations from the LLM.
Yes. So there are multiple forms of guardrails at different levels of the customization, right? So this could be everything from like the prompt engineering, all the way through to details in the UI. So when Bruce was presenting earlier, he actually showed that you can that our platform shows those corresponding chunks, those reference documents, right? That I think is going to be an increasingly important part of the user experience for LLMs. We see companies like Perplexity, when they generate answers, they not only provide you with the answer, they will also share with you the reference links, right? So those kinds of reference links can be very helpful in helping the human determine whether this is a correct answer or not. There are also guardrails you can implement at the prompt engineering or even fine-tuning side to ensure that your LLM is going to be on the more conservative side. If it doesn't know the answer to a question, just say, I don't know, right? Or if it's unsure. And finally, there are research techniques. There's a lot of research techniques out there around sending the response to yet another LLM along with the source document saying, hey, does this match your understanding of what's in this source document? That can be a very powerful method of resolving hallucinations. It's also at least twice as expensive because now you're calling two different LLM models, right? So it depends, again, it comes back to trade-offs of quality versus cost, but there are any number of ways to reduce hallucinations.
Okay. I know we've touched on privacy at the beginning, security and privacy at some point, but I wanted to specifically mention something about PII, like personal identifiable information. So if a user is coming on your platform, how do you make sure that that PII doesn't get to the model and that the model does not return any PII to the user? So those are the two things that are actually like really interesting to a lot of people.
Yeah, great question. So having spent time at Apple, I think I built Datasaur from the ground up with privacy in mind, right? Data privacy in mind. So everything is AES 256 encrypted, and we are HIPAA and SOC 2 compliant. We have passed the info security vetting of the largest organizations out there. But in case that's not enough, we also have the ability, we have a built-in feature that will actually mask PII from your annotators. It'll just replace an email address or a phone number with asterisks, right? And so there are ways of ensuring that the PII is not made available to the human annotators who are working with this. That can also continue on to the model itself, or you can replace it with completely fake numbers, right? You just take a social security number and we recognize it is a social security number. We scramble all the numbers and make up completely generated ones, and that won't impact the LLM's ability to understand what is going on in that particular sentence or in that document, right? So there are various ways of treating different types of PII, but security is at the forefront of our minds.
Thank you, Ivan. Kruthi,
Yeah.
do you have anything to ask? Yeah.
Yeah, I think great questions, Nneoma. Thank you so much, Ivan, for answering all of them. I just wanted to take a step here, and I see new people joining the call. So I just want to welcome them. So, hello, everyone. This is our Howdy Partner Show. And today we have Datasaur. In the first half, I think we saw LM Labs and Datasaur showed us how we can evaluate different models. We saw cost comparisons and how we can evaluate based on the cost as well as the performance. So, really excited to see what they'll be showing us in the next half of the episode. And for the ones who've been here so far, we have a survey. So, please let us know how we did. And there's also a free credits sign up for LLM Labs as well as the NLP platform. So, please feel free to sign up for the Datasaur on the Datasaur link that's on the chat here. Awesome. And I think we have a question like different clouds. I don't. Okay. I think we probably need. I don't know what the background was for that question, but yeah. Wait. We were talking about LM Labs. Sorry for taking it off the topic here. Yeah, I didn't have any other questions on LM Labs, but Ivan and Bruce, do you want to bring up anything else on LM Labs, or do you want to talk about the NLP platform? I know that's also one of the major solutions that you have. So do you want to talk about that, and probably also let us know how we can integrate these two solutions, like the LM Labs and the NLP platform, and how can the end user create like one big solution out of this?
Yeah, if you don't mind, there's last couple of things that I want to share with LLM
Mm-hmm.
Labs. First of all those project types that Bruce showed with evaluation and ranking, once you're done with that interface, once your annotators are done evaluating these, they can be exported into formats that can be immediately used to fine-tune or perform RLHF on your models, right? So our goal is just to make the best interface possible, make it really easy and intuitive for non-technical people to come in and rate and rank these, just like you would with an Amazon product, um, and provide their feedback. But then for the data scientists in the crowd here, you can immediately ingest this and use it to train your model, right? The final thing that I want to share here is another kind of future prediction, but I think one that's going to be very popular in the coming months. This is the idea of prompt unit testing. LLMs are a giant black box, and these large companies are training and retraining their model constantly, right? And so what happens when you retrain your model, even if the goal is to improve it, is that it may inadvertently affect and impact queries that previously worked, and suddenly they no longer work or respond in the same way. So one thing we can do with the Datasaur platform is use that same evaluation project, save all the 5-star answers and all the correct answers, because that is very valuable information for you and your team. You want to save all the 5-star and corrected answers and save it as a ground truth data set. And then we are working on launching something called automated evaluation to generate prompt unit testing. Unit testing is an age-old paradigm in software development. You create unit tests to make sure that every single time you build a new feature, previous features didn't break, right? Same thing here. As you continue adding more files to your knowledge base, as you continue retraining your model and fine-tuning it, you can also run all the ground truth data samples you have and make sure that everything that was working last week, is it still working this week, right? So I think this is going to become an increasingly important best practice, because as people are deploying these to production, you want to make sure that whatever you have running out there in production with real users isn't suddenly broken without your knowledge. Okay.
Yeah.
So my final point on LLM Labs, I think there's a lot of best practices as people start scaling to production, and we want to be there to help you implement those along the way.
Awesome. I think that was really great. And yeah, there's also the sign up link on the chat. So yeah, please feel free to sign up.
Yes. All right, Bruce, over to you for NLP labeling.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share a screen here. And we'll look at our NLP labeling suite. There's so much to cover. It's a very complex product, so I'm not going to cover everything, but I'm going to do the best I can to provide you with a bird's eye view of the NLP side of our platform. So here I'm in a span-based project where I'm labeling specific spans of text. This is a very simple use case of customer inquiries coming into our chatbot, and we're just trying to make our chatbot a little bit more smart. So in the spirit of making it accessible and intuitive to non-technical users, all you need to do is just click on a word and your taxonomy, your label set appears, and you can just kind of use these hotkeys to really fluently apply labels. Now, everything I just did is incorrect, but it shows you the fluency by which you can apply labels to your data set. So 22 years old, that is, we'll say a date, so I'll put date there, and brother we'll say is a person. So pretty easy to deploy label sets. Now you can make any label set in Datasaur. You can even have multiple label sets for the same exact project. So I can go here to a different label set, which is being specific about products that they may be asking about. And then relationships, because I can go ahead and draw relationships between labels. So this is all well and good, and it's hopefully easy for our users to really manually label data. But we have what we call extensions on the right-hand side that really unbox a lot of the powerful tools. So here's a search, what we call the search extension. And what the search extension allows us to do is bulk label. So I see there's an instance of CNN right here. And I want to see how many times CNN is mentioned. It's mentioned 16 times in this project. So what I can go ahead and do is label all of those instances as an organization simultaneously. So now I don't have to click on CNN each time. I can just go ahead and bulk label it, all of the files in my project, not just the file I'm looking at. In a similar spirit of making labeling more efficient, we have what we call ML-assisted labeling extension. This extension introduces automation to the process. So we have open source models like Spacey, or you can connect to a model on Hugging Face. You can even connect your own model via an API call. If you have your own model, you could just call it via an API call to the URL that it's existing in and go ahead and ask it to predict labels. We can even connect to a model that we just adjusted and fine-tuned on LLM Labs. So we can get that LLM to work for us in this project. In any of the cases that we choose, what does it look like when that automation occurs? So we'll just kind of do Spacey to go ahead and predict labels here. So Spacey is going to take a look at my label set and immediately just deployed a whole bunch of labels on this data set. And I get a list of everything that Spacey just deployed. And this is the exact behavior if we chose our own LLM, if we chose a model from Hugging Face, your own custom model living on an URL. This is how it works. You just kind of go up and down this list and reject or accept those labels. You'll also notice that everything the model deployed is in orange, so that way you can just kind of visually tell a difference between what you've done and what the model has done. So this is span-based labeling, and we have a whole bunch of more tools than what I've showed here today that really help you annotate effectively. For example, we have one tool that we call predictive labeling. So here I'm doing a simple sentiment analysis. Is this feedback positive or negative? Very simple. The type of thing that Ivan said you wouldn't really want to use an LLM for. Well, that's why Datasaur, we just came out with predictive labeling, which learns from the labels that you just deployed. So here I've gone through 24 rows, and I've done this manually myself, but I need to speed up the process. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is, and it's really this simple. You just go to your extensions, you enable predictive labeling. I tell it what text to read, which is the text column right here. And I tell it where I want it to answer, which is the sentiment column. So that's all ready. And I'm going to go ahead and ask it to predict those labels. And so right now, it may take a minute or two, but training is in progress. It's going to look at all the labels I've deployed and the text that I've deployed them corresponding to. And then it's going to learn from that and go ahead and hopefully fill in the rest of these rows. So we'll come back to that in a second. Now, what's also really important in Datasaur, besides the labeling process, whether that's textual classification, span-based labeling, looking at documents and images and answering questions and classifying those images, what's important beyond that is being able to have a QA step, a review. And so once again, Datasaur, we have what we call a reviewer mode. And in this mode, I can see everything that all the labelers have done. Let's say we had a multi-pass workflow where two labelers looked at the same exact data and applied their labels. Well, how do we resolve when they disagreed? That's the point of reviewer mode, is handling disagreements between your labelers. And it's really as simple as two different colors. It's gray and red. Gray means we had enough labelers agree on that label for it to be accepted. And red means not enough labelers and there was a disagreement. So if I want to go ahead and just use this one simple extension, which is our review extension, it'll show me how many conflicts there are. There's 9 in this project. And I can kind of just use this to auto scroll to those conflicts and go ahead and resolve them if I'd like. So for example, Jane Doe is a person, not customer ID. So I'll just go ahead and hit Control Enter. And now you'll see it turns pink, which means a reviewer has manually accepted it. And it's that easy. You can talk to your labelers directly through the interface too. So you'll see an orange tab right there. So you can just open this icon and you'll see that people are having conversations either about the labels or the data set. So you can really be very transparent with your team members about what you're seeing and questions your labelers have. Now going back to our predictive labeling, it looks like the work is done and all the rows were answered. Perfect. So we'll go ahead and see kind of what the quality is. The team was outlining well organized. That should be positive. So looking pretty good. And I'll just kind of go through this right here and just kind of QA this. If I want to change any of these answers, I absolutely can. But you can see if we had, I don't know, 400 rows and all I did was go through 50 of the rows manually, I can ask predictive labeling to classify the rest of the data for me. And that's a really powerful tool, directly saving you time and resources. And we have this tool and many other tools like this that try to learn from your labels and really take that manual process off of your shoulders in a way that sustains the quality that you have already executed through your labeling. And as we've shown you before, of course, one of the cornerstones of all of these project types is being able to have an understanding of how your team is doing, productivity, quality, and every team is different, which is why we've also built a custom report builder page, which allows you to make your own report. If you were just interested in project accuracy and team member accuracy and conflicts resolved, go and save that. You'll get a demo of what that report looks like and export it out. And so that way you can kind of make your own reports just to see how your team is doing in terms of productivity and their quality of labeling, which are really critical insights for you as a manager in determining, do we need to make new labeling guidelines? Has our labeling quality decreased ever since we introduced this new data set or this new taxonomy to our data set? This type of custom reporting really allows you to have your unique perspective that's important to you in order for you to understand if your team is headed in the correct direction.
I just had a couple of questions, Bruce. So first one for multi-labeling. Right now we saw 2 labels, right, for sentiment analysis that you showed. So can that be applied for multiple labels as well?
Yeah, you can have multiple labels and overlapping labels. You can allow, and you can, even as an admin, you can actually toggle that on and off, right? If you don't want your labelers to have overlapping or multiple labels, you can choose that setting. Or if you do want to allow that type of labeling behavior, you can select that as a setting. So you can control whether your labelers are able to do that or not.
Okay. And predictive labeling, will that
Mhm.
also work for multiple labels, or uh, is it just for two labels?
Yeah, that can work for multiple labels, much more than two. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. Uh,
I do have a question.
Mhm.
I'm thinking if this is the right question to ask, but I'm gonna ask anyway. So I have a company. I don't have enough people helping me to label my data. Can I come to your platform, and how can your platform help me in that situation?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have a number of trusted partners on our that have a wealth of experience on our platform, and that work with a lot of our current customers. And again, we have an agnostic approach to suggesting partners, so we understand very well. Um, Partner A has a specialty in French and Italian languages, and they have a lot of labelers that have medical experience, maybe specifically in radiology. And then partner B has a lot of college students that are that speak English, right? And so what we do is we'll take your requirements as a customer, and we'll understand your workflow, how many labelers you need, how much data you have, what quality threshold are you looking for? Do you need the quality to be at like 97% or just maybe 90%? And then we'll take those requirements, we'll look at our kind of index of partners, and we'll suggest 2 or 3 partners to you based on your requirements and connect them with you. And we'll have 3-party meetings and make sure that you're happy with the partner that we're suggesting to you.
Okay. So another question I wanted to ask is, how do you maintain data privacy with these third parties coming in to help label, the data for your customers?
Yeah, so there's a number of ways that we do that. The first is we have different permissioning on the workspace. So, for example, if you want their labelers to only see a certain subsection of your data, you can just assign them as members, and they will only see the data that you have given them permission to see. You can also divide it in a number of workspaces, and whoever's in workspace A won't see what's happening in workspace B. So what a lot of our customers do is they have like a development and testing workspace where only their internal team sees all of the data. And then once they approve it, they send it to a production workspace where the partner is. And the only data that goes into that workspace has been approved by them internally for that third party vendor to see. So there's a number of ways where you can kind of control who sees what.
Okay. Thank you. One last question I have on that would be, like integrated, like fully integrated experience. This is giving me a part of the MLOps experience, like the full like pipeline. So is there? I don't know if it's possible on your platform right now to be able to take on full circle of like from data gathering, labeling, and then data processing, and to the point where you start, using your LLM. So I'm thinking if uh, can this be integrated to like a different MLOps platform? So instead of exporting the data, just seamlessly connected to whatever platform they're using, so they can just have the full experience in one, interface.
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways we can do that, just logistically speaking, but you can customize the output coming out of Datasaur. So you can make sure that the output coming out of Datasaur is what your MLOps platform is expecting, right? So you can perfectly match that formatting to wherever you're building your actual model. And then we can set up API triggers, right? To where as soon as a reviewer marks a project as complete, we can go ahead and send it out via API to wherever you are sending this information to build your model. So we can make it a really hands-off experience with the APIs and webhooks, but also a seamless integration by enabling you to customize fully the output coming out of Datasaur to match your data pipeline perfectly.
Okay, thank you.
End-to-end integration is really important for us. So We do integrate again with S3 buckets. The export formats, we support a lot of AWS formats natively, SageMaker, and we also integrate with OCR, like AWS's OCR services as well. So the idea is no matter where your data is hosted, what format it's already in, it can be seamlessly integrated with Datasaur, both for project creation purposes as well as project export when it's ready.
I just had a quick question here. So, as let's say a new customer who has some data labeling challenges, so how do I approach Datasaur, and which platform do I choose, and how will Datasaur guide me through like the entire project?
Yeah, so I guess the best way to say that is if you're having labeling challenges, we have at Datasaur a complete onboarding cycle for all customers where we have different training sessions with labelers, reviewers, and admin to really make sure that you understand how to use the platform on all three levels. As well as Datasaur is very customizable. So let's say you do have a really unique challenge. We've been able to customize and build custom features on Datasaur countless times. I think most of our customers actually require some type of custom development. NLP is a tricky thing. It's never really a perfect puzzle piece where hey, I have this need and this platform perfectly matches it. So it's really important that platforms are flexible and able to quickly deliver custom features. And we've been able to do that so far at Datasaur pretty successfully with each and every single one of our customers. So kind of goes on two levels. We make sure that our platform stays flexible, and two, we make sure that you're really well trained and that you feel comfortable asking us for any type of training sessions as you're getting used to Datasaur. So platform level and the human level, we try to support both to the best of our abilities.
Okay. Yeah, that's great to know. So I know on Marketplace you have like a SaaS offering, but if like there are customers who want any modifications, they can still reach out to you and you'll be able to help them. Okay,
Yes.
100%.
awesome. I see a comment. I'm an AI optimist, especially when I see tools like this that are specialized. Thanks all.
Thanks for the comment. Yeah, I mean, I know that was a lot to cover in NLP labeling, but what I hope comes across is that I think over the last 5 years, we've established ourselves as the NLP player. Like we've, a lot of companies do a lot of different types of AI. Computer vision was really hot for a while. But we started this with the express intent of supporting all forms of NLP. And it's pretty exciting to see LLMs kind of bring NLP back into the limelight here.
Yeah. And so we saw like the NLP and the LM's platform, and I know Bruce also showed that you can bring your LM models on like the NLP platform. So is there any other way by which these two integrate together, and how the two solutions together solve customers' problem?
I think Bruce covered the primary method, right? As it comes back to the bigger picture I was describing earlier, where there will be a variety of NLP solutions required for different types of use cases. And so the goal is being able to make sure that LLM, like you can customize and fine tune an LLM for the express use case of labeling automation. And it depends, right? Earlier, I showed a use case where Mistral didn't perform well, but Mistral is known in particular for doing well with European languages. So for some of our customers who have more international use cases, it may be useful to set up a Mistral LLM to help with identifying PII, for example, in German documents or Spanish documents, right? So that I think is the interplay. Longer term, I will share that my broader vision for Datasaur is to be the NLP company, and LLMs are just another type of NLP. So my goal is to get to the point where you can just input your data label it, mark it up however you need, and get the model that you want at the end of the day. It should be abstracted away, whether that model is an LLM-based one or an NLP-based one or something in between. At the end of the day, all companies want is, here's our proprietary data, reference it however it needs to be referenced, identify the key parts of it, but what we need is a model that produces these types of answers, and that is what we're trying to support. Pika API. I assume this is with regards to the Pika AI company, idea to video. I am a big fan of Pika in general, and what it's able to support. I'd love to hear any suggestions you might have for how we can integrate with that. Right now, video generation or video markup is not necessarily directly in our wheelhouse. But we do have things like video classification. We've worked with companies like Netflix and Spotify for subtitles, podcast transcription. So if there's something in the multimedia space that you are looking for in particular, we're more than happy to discuss that with you.
Awesome. Yeah. So did you have anything else that you wanted to show to the audience, or in terms of LM Labs, NLP platform, anything?
I think that's it for NLP and LLM labs. I mean, that's it. If we show more, I believe would have a saturation of knowledge here.
Yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But
that's mhm.
at the core of it, the NLP is about being able to label quality data with a robust QA process. And we have almost tripled the size of our AI team in the last 12 months, with a focus on helping you automate and quickly get through your data in a way that sustains that quality. So that has been a huge focus of our team this last year, is helping you automate by learning from your labels. So learning from you and how you label your data, how can we help you automate from there? And I think that's what we're really focused on right now, while we also make sure that you are able to explore the exciting world of LLMs. So I think that's our mission at this point with NLP and LLM labs.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to mention something. Kind of I'm a bit from what you said. You said for the past 12 months you've tripled your AI ML team, and I know that within the AWS Partner Network, you're fairly new within the AWS Partner Network. So I wanted to know what your journey has been, within the network, because we use this weekly series to showcase, our partners. So I want to know, what are the benefits? What has been your journey like within the AWS Partner Network?
Yeah, I think that it's been a really productive partnership. We started, maybe to provide some context, we did a lot of these integrations without being Amazon partners. We did them because customers were requesting them. A majority of our partners are already hosted on AWS, and they're the ones requesting integration with AWS S3 or the OCR services or the SageMaker export formats, right? So we were already down this journey of integrating with Amazon. So when I learned about this partnership, it was a very natural next step for us to formalize that. It's been very helpful from a technical consultation perspective and just understanding better ways that we can integrate with some of these APIs, or made aware of, or we are made aware of APIs that we didn't know about before. It's also been helpful from a business perspective, right? And it's just exchanging notes in terms of this rapidly evolving space. What are the use cases that people are really going after? It makes a lot of business sense too for us to help people migrate over to open source models, because that's where a lot of the demand comes from in our enterprise client space. And Amazon has, I believe, the largest repository for readily available open source models. So yeah, we've really enjoyed being partners here.
Okay.
That's great. So, how do I know we are almost towards the end of the show? So, how do customers buy your product? I know you have it on AWS Marketplace, so that's good. But do you prefer them to also reach out to you through the sign up form, or how do you expect them to?
Yeah, so obviously the marketplace is an excellent place to start. Both products are available on that. So you can access both the NLP labeling platform as well as the LLM Labs platform. Um, Another is through the links that we were circulating earlier, also in the chat for how to sign up for both LLM Labs as well as for the NLP platform. um, we'd love to chat, right? I think the best, most successful partnership engagements with our customers are when we get to hear about your use case. As you may have seen here today, there is a lot to cover. There's a lot of features. And rather than ask you to spend, multiple afternoons digging around and exploring, we're more than happy to set up a 20-minute session to learn about your use case and show you exactly how to get a project like that set up on our platform. So certainly feel free to sign up through any of those links there. But if you want to reach out to me directly on LinkedIn or through email, feel free to reach out directly as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I've just pasted the links for AWS Marketplace as well as the NLP platform and LLM Labs. So, yeah, please sign up there. And I know we also had a blog post that we co authored on. So, I think I'll also paste that link. So you can read more about our blog post where we talk about LM Labs, the NLP platform solution, what are some of the data labeling challenges that customers are facing today, and how Datasaur's platform addresses those labeling challenges. So yeah, please go ahead and read the blog post as well.
Yeah.
And any
Oh, I just wanted to say, I think the blog post is a really helpful kind of summary of how you can use how you can combine both products to address your NLP challenges. So do give that a read. Kruthi and I, Kruthi was very helpful in setting that up and sharing the best practices there.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, do you have anything else that you want, any marketing links that you want to share to our customers? Anything else?
Thanks for
Any
the offer.
sessions that you have that you want customers to attend?
Um, Thank you for that. No, I think I don't want to overwhelm you guys with marketing links or anything like that. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Would love to chat there. I do have a couple of webinars in the next few months that I'll be promoting, but more than anything, just remember if you sign up between now and Sunday, you will get that $100 credit. So special promotion just for today's stream.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I really had a really great time learning about your products today, both the LLM Labs as well as the NLP platform. It was really exciting. And thank you so much, both Ivan and Bruce, for being here and answering all of our questions. I really enjoyed the time talk to you. Noma, did you have anything that you want to add?
I do not have anything else to add, but I'm really I had a really good time. Like one thing for sure is something Ivan talked about, prompt unit testing. It's something that I took up from today's conversation, and I think you have a lot of, like, you dropped a lot of gems today. I can't even. I had my notes. I was taking notes. So thank you so much, Bruce, for the demo. Thank you, Kruthi, for having me. Yeah, that's it from my end.
Yeah,
Awesome.
wonderful. You've been great hosts.
Yeah, and to the audience, thank you so much for being here, asking questions. And one ask from you is to please fill out our survey. I'll also drop it in the chat. And we'll also have the Howdy Partner show next week, same day, same time. So please join us then. We have Accenture who'll be presenting their virtual show floor. So please join us next Wednesday. And I think that's about it. Thank you so much, everyone. See you all next Wednesday.
Excellent. Thank you all.